I was hoping to introduce ourselves and say good morning, but now it's afternoon, so good afternoon to everyone. I hope everyone's having a good time. Very informative forum. I have with me Jim Prisco and Tom Lazzaro from our board to discuss some of the issues that are at hand here. I want everybody to take a look at the person to your left and the person to your right. And there's an occurrence that happened 17 months ago that brings us all together, that bring those people right next to you. And that had to do with Superstorm Sandy. And within Sandy, there was a devastation that happened in the tri-state area. I think Tim just outlined his reflections of watching the storm come up. Same thing happened to us. Days after Superstorm Sandy, our board convened, the executive portion of the board, saying, as us, as architects, as professionals, how could we be good citizens? How could we help our public? Trying to reach out. At that point, Long Island is still with a deer to headlights. Everybody's trying to still figure out what to do, what are the priorities. And our board members ended up going out to the local fire departments, talking with them. They had LIPA representatives because the first issue was continue life safety. And that's one of our paramount responsibilities as professionals. It's protection, general welfare, life safety of the public. And we went out, representatives with the fire departments, and walked the communities. Tell people to stay out of their houses until they're checked and make sure there was safety with the electrical power. Regarding that, a week later, we got the infamous letter from the state cautioning us of the Good Samaritan Act. And unfortunately, that stopped everybody dead. We could not go out and solicit any more of our members to go out and help their community as they wanted to because of the general liability that was out there. Reconvening, we said to ourselves, what else can we do? What are the issues that we can do without getting into crossing that line of liability? What we did is to divide an education process for the community. We entitled our community outreach programs as table talks. That is to educate the homeowners of the steps. They're pragmatic steps one has to take, even under an emergency, of how to rebuild, what are responsibilities of the building department, because the building departments and municipalities are there for their life safety too. And that the understanding of what that process was. There was an education process, and that continues today, because we are working with our local building departments into rectifying what are some of the problems that they've had in the past and addressing them now under the emergency condition. We've heard today some very high-end and very well thought out forecast planning. We've seen reactionary planning solutions that have come across. We've seen the micro view of things. We want to present to you some of the micro issues. That is, what's happening at the ground, what's happening at the public level right now. Is anyone here from New York Rising? Not really. Yeah. One of the problems right now is getting the money on the street. There was a new broadcast today, I think it was announced. New York State has $460 million worth of grant money. They want to take a guess how much money is on the street right now? $10 million. $10 million after 17 months. It's the implementation programs. I think we got the people there, we got the energy, we got the ideas, but it's the implementation. What we have is to develop dialogues and cooperation. As an urban planner, 101 I learned. There's three-legged stool in urban planning. You have the designer, you have government, and you have the developer. Nobody's from the development end of what goes into a good community. What can we handle right now? One of those things also with developers, insurance companies. What are they facing in the future? What are they going to give us? I've gone through commercial entities of where, in recovery in New York City, where a commercial property, insurance will pay $3 million to redo their emergency power generators. I am in a pitch battle to get them to pay to remove that, to put it up to the second or third floor of that building, because this will happen again. But insurance policy is so narrow, so written. No, they want to pay, they'll only pay for it to downstairs. With negotiation now, we're going to try to split the extra ductwork, electrical ductwork, to bring that up those extra 20 feet above the flood line, so not to go through this again. So at this time, I wanted to say that we are still working as AIA Long Island. We are still working with the municipalities, with communities, to still help them to get the education and get this thing going. At this point, I'd like to turn this over to Jim Prisco, who's going to elaborate more on working with the local municipalities and responses that are out there. Jim?
Thank you. My name is Jim Prisco. I'm a local architect, and I unfortunately am also a flood victim. I had 28 inches of water in my house, so I'm right now applying for New York Rising. I've raised about 10 houses already, and I have about 20 more to go right now. I have done a lot of work in two waterfront communities, the city of Long Beach and the village of Freeport. And I just want to go over some things that they've done to, in response to the storm. Most of it is probably been done in most other communities, but they've done certain things like they've changed the height requirements to allow homeowners to raise their homes above the BFE without applying for Board of Zoning Appeals approval. They've waived city required licenses for contractors, allowing them to install plumbing and electric panels back to get people back in their homes. As long as they were licensed somewhere else, they're allowed to do the work. The city felt that they can catch up with them later on permitting and approvals. Same thing for capital improvement fees, and dumpster fees were waived. Zoning board started meeting twice a month instead of once a month to accommodate extra applications. The building department, I know in Long Beach, was open 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I know they got grants from New York Rising. They were good for 2 years to put on extra inspectors to review the tremendous amount of applications they were receiving. Applications were actually being reviewed in as little as 2 days by the commissioner himself. You can call him and you can get him on the phone in the city of Long Beach. That never happened before. I know the state sent 31 inspectors, and they did over 2,800 building inspections for the city alone. The city only has about a half a dozen building inspectors. LIPA had staged their office in the building department for 6 weeks after the storm, and city of Long Beach was one of the first towns on Long Island to get electricity back to its inhabitants. The lights were on in Long Beach before Point Lookout and both Atlantic Beach. In Freeport, they did a great thing. They required the minimum freeboard to be 4 foot above the BFE. The overall height is now measured from that point, and so it allows a lot of home elevations to be permitted without variances. Again, New York Rising gave them some monies to put extra staff members on plan review. They still have a little bit of a backlog, but they're catching up. They had waived building permit fees for a year, and that saved the community about $100,000. And of course, they had a review board, an architectural review board. They waived those hearings, and one of probably the most important things is they paid special attention to the new group of house raisers that all of a sudden showed up. There were a lot of companies that overnight really became house raisers, and a few homes were dropped, particularly one in Freeport. That's basically it on the local community response. I'll let Tom speak.
Thank you, Jim. My name's Tom Lazzaro. I'm raising approximately 25 houses right now on the South Shore of Long Island in several different communities. And one message that I think that I want to deliver to everybody is, I think we can do a lot with education. We need to know which municipalities are requiring what on their drawings. And it's different from one municipality to another. We need to understand the New York State Building Code and understand if you take a house off its foundation, that technically you're moving the house, and that triggers other things in the building code. And we need to understand what the people are going through to this day. Some people's houses are still a wreck, and it's going in and just listening to them, holding their hand, and with the education, we can tell them what they can do and what we think the impact is going to be to their life. and how we can make their lives better. There's still a lot going on. There's a municipality on the South Shore that has a plan to raise their street elevations. That definitely impacts us. If we're raising a house to a certain elevation and 3 years down the road, the street elevation is going to be raised and they don't allow us to adjust that ground plane, that's going to be a bathtub in the future. So, you know, it's the dialogue with the town to make sure that we're on the same page. We got to get the message out. We got to talk to the people. We got to help them through it. This is an opportunity for us as architects to bring a lot to a community and really help out our neighbors. And again, it can all be through education, just getting them back to where they need to be and helping them along. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. Again, it's working with the New York Rising program too. You know, people are frustrated because the rules are changing every day. And the caseworkers, you know, day by day are changing the rules. Well, it's not them, it's the people above them that are changing the dialogue. We got to understand it, we got to work through, see the bigger picture, help the client through it, and be able to provide a positive impact in their life. Let them know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and they're going to be okay at the end of the day. Thank you.
I just want to reinforce in closing, as has been mentioned several times, the Good Samaritan Act. Last year, the AIA chapters had a wave of representatives go up to Albany and to go to our representative offices and educate them to the meaning of the Good Samaritan Act, that what that meant, the second responders, that we can be as good citizens. That has reached almost legislation. I believe it's up this year. It's up right now to vote this year, Tim? Right? And I think I think it's a 90 to 10 chance that we're going to pass it this year. So when this does happen again, us professionals would be able to call up to the front line. Thank you.